It all started with a moment so tense you could practically feel the temperature drop in the room. Netflix executives sat across from Meghan Markle and finally asked the one question she never wanted to hear out loud. Show us the numbers. The real numbers. And that was it. That was the spark that lit the fuse and sent everything spiraling. Because according to the people who were right there watching this unfold, Meghan didn't just hesitate, she flat out refused. Like it wasn't even a negotiation. She told Netflix, one of the biggest entertainment giants on the planet, that they had no right to her sales figures. Imagine that. A massive corporation backing her lifestyle brand, investing time, energy, planning future opportunities, and she says no when they ask for basic transparency. The craziest part? She allegedly framed her refusal like she was guarding some highly successful empire, like she was protecting her brilliant, thriving business from jealous corporate executives who might take advantage. But the whispers behind the scenes painted a totally different picture. People close to the situation were convinced she was terrified the numbers would expose an ugly truth, that the brand wasn't taking off, that sales were embarrassingly low, and that the entire entrepreneurial powerhouse narrative she'd been selling to the public was built on smoke and mirrors. Netflix didn't ask for anything unreasonable. They weren't demanding her firstborn child. They simply wanted metrics, data, proof that the project they were standing behind wasn't a sinking ship. But instead of transparency, they got shutdown after shutdown. And at that point, the executives, who've dealt with every type of celebrity attitude imaginable, apparently looked at each other and realized they were done. She'd rejected their social media help. She ignored promotional guidance. She resisted collaboration. And when they finally asked for numbers to decide the brand's future, she slammed the door. Anyone who'd been watching closely could see the cracks long before this moment. The brand launched without a trademarked name. The website barely functioned. Promotional videos looked like they were shot and edited in a hurry. And Harry's money, which had been funding so much of this girl boss venture, seemed to be slipping into a bottomless pit. Nothing about it had the polish or planning of a serious brand. It looked rushed, half-built, and desperately aimed at creating an image rather than a real business. Netflix had tried. Oh, they tried. They offered support, amplification, opportunities. They wanted her lifestyle brand to succeed because it would have made them look innovative. But glamour means nothing if nobody's buying what you're selling. Hype means nothing without actual sales. And when a partner refuses to disclose numbers, the message screams loud and clear, there's nothing good to show. And then came the humiliation nobody expected to be so brutally public. Netflix House, their flashy new retail experience opening in Dallas, was supposed to showcase Netflix's biggest hits: Stranger Things merch, Squid Game collectibles, Bridgerton experiences, everything that represented success. But Meghan Markle's American Riviera orchard? Completely missing. Not a single jam jar, not one candle, nothing. They didn't even pretend. They didn't blame shipping delays. They didn't offer excuses. They simply didn't include her. The silence of it was louder than any announcement could ever be. And the worst part? Netflix House wasn't even a regular store. They didn't need her products to sell. They didn't care if her items sat on shelves. This was a marketing experience. They could have easily thrown a few jars in a corner just to seem supportive, but they didn't bother. They made a calculated decision. She wasn't worth the shelf space. It was devastating. Because this wasn't a random boutique turning her down. This was the same company that had once championed her, the same company she'd claimed as her partner, and suddenly she wasn't even part of the celebration. And then things went from bad to utterly embarrassing. Industry insiders started revealing that Meghan had pitched her products to every major retailer: Target, Kohl's, Bloomingdale's, Macy's, Nordstrom, every store where celebrity lifestyle brands usually thrive. And guess what? Every single one said no. This wasn't, let's wait and see. This wasn't, maybe next season. This was flat-out rejection. Right during the biggest retail period of the year, when stores are begging for products that will attract holiday shoppers, retailers will take risks on celebrities, even controversial ones, if they believe products will sell. But with Meghan, the data must have been brutal. Her public approval dropped. Her victim narrative had worn thin. People were tired of hearing complaints from someone living in a Montecito mansion. Even her supporters weren't converting into customers. And if your own fans won't buy your products, that's game over. The contrast with other celebrities made her failure even sharper. Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, controversial as it is, secured partnerships. Rihanna's beauty brand exploded. Reese Witherspoon's ventures found homes on shelves. Even reality stars with far less profile than Meghan landed retail deals. But Meghan? No one wanted her products. And behind the scenes, something even more revealing was happening. While she kept insisting everything was sold out, she never said how many units existed. 10 jars? 50 jars? 100? Anyone can sell out if you make tiny batches and ship them to your celebrity friends for Instagram photos. That's not a business. That's a hobby disguised as entrepreneurship. Then came the Amazon MGM Cameo disaster. The cameo was supposed to be a surprise. That's literally how cameos work. Studios rely on shock value to create buzz. But Meghan leaked her own appearance early, completely ruining the moment. Amazon executives were furious. The whole point was audience excitement. Instead, she spoiled her own value. After that, other studios reportedly backed away. Nobody wanted to risk working with someone who ignores basic Hollywood procedures just to grab a little extra attention. Netflix saw all of this. They watched her sabotage relationships. They watched her prioritize control over collaboration. They watched her blame others for every failure. And slowly, quietly, they began pulling back. No drama, no statements, just distance. And then came the gossip columnist bombshell. Rob Shooter revealed the engagement numbers. Meghan went from 100% engagement, meaning everyone clicked, to just 20%. Only 10% hardcore fans and 10% hardcore haters stayed. The entire middle audience, the group that makes or breaks celebrity relevance, had disappeared. She wasn't loved, she wasn't hated, she was ignored. And being ignored is the worst fate in entertainment. Even villains stay relevant because haters keep watching. But Meghan managed to lose everyone. She exhausted people. Her drama wasn't fun anymore. It was repetitive, draining, and predictable. Even her holiday special promo felt off. Beige stockings, neutral tones, a joyless aesthetic that looked more like a luxury catalog than Christmas magic. She scheduled it the same week as Princess Catherine's iconic Christmas Carol special, practically begging for comparisons she couldn't win. And Netflix? They didn't even promote her special on their official accounts. She posted, but they didn't share. That silence spoke louder than any announcement, and Hollywood insiders recognized Netflix's tactic immediately. Death by 1,000 cuts. Slowly pull away until the partnership expires naturally. No drama, no accusations, just a quiet exit. Meanwhile, Meghan keeps acting like nothing's wrong, keeps posting, keeps smiling, keeps performing calm confidence while everything behind her collapses. American Riviera Orchard wasn't a business. It was an Instagram fantasy, a curated aesthetic pretending to be a company, and now even the fantasy is collapsing. And the final painful question remains. How is she going to explain all of this to Harry? And honestly, that's the part everyone keeps whispering about behind closed doors, the Meghan and Harry dynamic. Because Harry has poured millions into these ventures, millions into PR, millions into rebranding, millions into a life he thought would make them independent, empowered, unstoppable. But instead, every project turns into the same story. Big announcements, dramatic energy, glossy visuals, and then silence, collapse, blame. Another chapter of "we were misunderstood," or "the institution didn't support us," or "the press twisted our intentions." But this time, it wasn't the royal family's fault. It wasn't the tabloids. It wasn't the palace machinery sabotaging her. This time, it was Meghan's own decisions, her secrecy, her refusal to collaborate, her obsession with image over structure, that caused everything to fall apart. And for the first time, there's no external enemy to point at, which means the only person left in the room to carry the weight of responsibility is Meghan herself. Netflix isn't stupid. They saw how things were trending. They saw that the public was tuning out, that the magic had worn off, that the woman who once captivated the world now struggled to hold attention for even 30 seconds. They saw the dwindling engagement, the tepid reactions, the fatigue in the audience, and they adjusted accordingly, quietly, strategically, just enough to distance themselves without creating drama. Meanwhile, Meghan keeps projecting confidence, keeps posting like she's thriving, keeps smiling in those perfectly curated photos. But behind those curated moments is a brand that never truly existed beyond Instagram filters, a business with no scalability, products with inconsistent quality, and retailers who weren't even tempted. And when you take away the filters, you start to see the heartbreaking truth of the entire situation. The Christmas special promo was the perfect example. Meghan walking through a sun-kissed orchard in December with beige sweaters and neutral decor, arranging stockings like someone performing Christmas for a high-end furniture catalog. No warmth, no color, no joy, just muted tones and aesthetic control. It didn't feel Christmassy. It felt empty, like a performance of holiday spirit rather than the real thing. And then she released those brown stockings and that taupe gift wrap. People joked that her Christmas decor looked like something pulled out of a Victorian orphanage. Comment sections were flooded with, "Where's the color? Is this a funeral? This is Christmas or corporate minimalism?" It wasn't festive. It wasn't fun. It wasn't even cozy. It was Meghan's aesthetic obsession overpowering the actual holiday. And then came the truly shocking moment. Meghan posted her promo on Instagram, naturally expecting Netflix to repost, amplify, celebrate, and hype it. That's what partners do, right? Except Netflix said nothing. No repost, no mention, not even a small Instagram story. Absolute silence. That silence hit harder than a public statement would have. It was Netflix saying, without saying, "We are phasing you out." They didn't need to confront her. They didn't need to announce anything. They just needed to stop participating in the illusion. And the industry recognized this immediately. This is the Hollywood breakup ritual. Quiet withdrawal, reduced support, no renewals, no future development. Allow the contract to expire and simply move on. And while Netflix conducts their quiet execution, Meghan keeps telling her story story online, smiling, decorating, pretending everything is beautiful. But deep down, she feels it. She knows something is shifting. She can sense that the partnership she once celebrated is slipping through her fingers. And the saddest part? She doesn't have another platform waiting. No retailer wants her products. No studio wants her cameos. No executive wants to manage her unpredictability. And the audience that once hung on to her every move? Gone. The middle 80% has walked away. They're just over the drama, the self-victimization, the predictable patterns. They want something new, something real, something entertaining. But Meghan's brand hasn't evolved. It hasn't grown. It hasn't adapted. It's the same story on repeat. Blame, complaints, distancing, curated aesthetics, and a constant attempt to control every narrative. And as all of this unfolds, Harry is caught in the middle of a narrative nobody envies. He left his family, his country, his role, his identity for a vision of independence. A vision he believed in. A vision that he thought would lead to success, validation, and purpose. He thought they would build something together, but every project ended in burnout, disappointment, and silently closed doors. And people are whispering, how long until Harry can't ignore the pattern anymore? How many failed ventures can he keep funding? How many times can he watch Meghan repeat the same cycle? How many excuses can one man accept before finally wondering, maybe it isn't everyone else, maybe it's us? American Riviera Orchard wasn't just a failed brand. It was supposed to be the proof of Meghan's reinvention. Her declaration that she didn't need the royal family. Her moment to claim her own empire. Instead, it exposed everything she didn't want the world to see. A brand with no audience. A partnership with no trust. A product line with no demand. A public image slipping through her fingers. And now the gossip world is asking, will Meghan admit the collapse? Or will she spin this into another narrative where she's the victim of corporate bullying, misunderstood brilliance, jealous executives? Because Meghan has never had a problem rewriting history, and she's never had a problem blaming someone else. But this time, there may not be anyone left to blame.